What is the most complex object in the universe? To answer that question, perhaps we first need to define what exactly complex means. Complexity isn't size or how many parts something has, though you might make the argument that it has to do with how many different types of parts something has, how many different units of information it can hold. A tree, for example, is significantly more complex than a star. Trees have different parts to them, many different parts in fact. Like, we're talking on a molecular level here. Stars have different parts too. They have layers, they have different elements within them, but for the most part, stars are doing pretty much one thing, crushing themselves under their own gravity, so much so that they are fusing the atoms within themselves and giving off light. Okay, maybe that's more than one thing. But trees are absorbing nutrients from the soil, taking in CO2, expelling oxygen, creating new cells, moving fluid through their xylem and phloem, producing gametes, and of course, absorbing that light their local star gave off. Trees are more complex because they contain more information. In fact, all living things have a structure within themselves specifically designed for carrying information, DNA. So, living things in general are much more complex than their non-living neighbors. Don't believe me? Try having a conversation with a rock the next time you go outside. Rocks just sit around, attracting stuff with their gravity. Humans do that too, but we also run, talk, dance, fight, and reflect on the concept of our ability to reflect on our own concepts. Humans are more complex. Really, humans are more complex than any other life form. And despite what we all secretly wish would happen, when scientists look out at the cosmos, they continue to find objects that are distinctly in the realm of not alive. So, human beings are the most complex things in the observable universe. But what part of us specifically is the most complex? I mean, yeah, the stomach is pretty intricate and all when compared to a rock or a star, but really, cows have a couple of those, so we don't exactly have them beat in that arena. Could it be our eyes? No. There are actually quite a few animals whose eyes are much more complex and effective than ours. But we're getting closer. It's the brain. The human brain is the most complex thing in existence that we currently know of. It has required more energy to create than anything else. It is the result of more entropy than anything else. What do I mean by this? Entropy is the tendency of all things to move towards a disordered state. But how can something complex come about in a universe that runs on disorder? Well, first of all, I said it has a tendency to move towards a disordered state, which implies it is moving from an ordered one. During that transition, a lot of cool things can happen. In fact, everything that ever happens ever does so in this transition. Think of it like water moving down a stream. Sometimes it speeds up or slows down or flows temporarily backwards in a swirl or splashes against a rock. Everything in the pond where the stream began is order and non-existence. Everything in the ocean where it ends is entropy and the eventual heat death of the universe. And everything that happens in the middle is us, and everything else in existence. You are the interesting and complex whirlpool that forms in an otherwise dull stream. Congrats. Second of all, entropy does not mean that complex things cannot arise, but ultimately more disorder will result from them. Remember, entropy is the tendency of all things to move toward a disordered state, but individual things can get complex all they want, so long as a greater amount of disorder happens overall. Remember the whirlpool from the stream that is you? Well, that whirlpool could not exist without the entire stream. If you measured the exact amount of water in the vortex and took it in a bucket to a dried creek bed, you would not be able to recreate it. You need the entire stream so that one little cool thing can happen in it. This is why humans didn't just pop into existence at the moment of the Big Bang. We needed the entire universe to create enough entropy for our complexity to occur. Another way to think of it is how I can make a plate, and I can break a plate, but it takes way more energy to make a plate than break a plate. The plate is complex and required a lot of work to create. It needed manual labor and equipment, which in turn had to be built, which required more labor, which burns calories, which requires eating, which requires killing things. All that just to make a plate. But to break it, all you have to do is let go of it. You can glue it back together if you want, but be aware that's going to require more killing things to feed your muscles in order to glue it. So, how much entropy did it take to get to the human brain? How much energy had to be displaced? Well, think of it like this. The sun had to be blasting light at the Earth for like 1 billion years before life arose. Well, okay, that's not entirely true. I want you to picture a really hot day and think about how all that energy you are experiencing is just a fraction of the entire amount of energy that the whole Earth is receiving from the sun in just one day. Now picture all that energy, if you can even fathom it, and imagine that it isn't just hitting Earth, it is hitting the area where Earth was yesterday, and the area where it will be tomorrow, and every Earth-sized area in the planet's entire orbit. No, not just the orbit, because that's two-dimensional. Let's think in 3D. Every Earth-sized area in an entire sphere around the sun is receiving the same amount of energy our planet does every day since the beginning of the solar system. This is the stream that allows for the whirlpool. So, how complex is the human brain? How much entropy did it require to create? It required the sun shooting massive amounts of radiation in every direction in a three-dimensional sphere for over 4 billion years until life evolved to the level of complexity of the human brain. And that's just starting at the beginning of the solar system. If you consider that the universe had to go through quite a bit of entropy just to create stars or hydrogen atoms or protons, then technically every single thing that has ever happened has been a part of paying the cosmic piper to allow for the human brain to exist. So, once again, congratulations. Until we find life that is more complex than ours, or create it, we're the most intricate things out there. But who? Who among us has the most complicated brain? Is it a matter of who is the most intelligent? And if that's the case, how would we even answer that question? I'm going to be doing a video next week to try to tackle this particular subject. But in the meantime, why don't you research it a bit and see what you can come up with? Alright guys, we'll meet back here next time. Thanks for watching.